gun at him, advanced on him with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, then he fired, right?
Correct.
It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, that he fired, right?
Correct.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Comic Crow. So Gage Grosskreutz is suing Kyle Rittenhouse, and I agree with Kyle's quote here. I guess it came as a shock to why he's filing the lawsuit, because he admitted that he pointed a gun in my face and that he chased me down. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. He admits that Kyle did not have his gun even pointed on him until he raised his own weapon and was about to fire at Kyle. Now, during the trial, there was a few other things that came out, including the fact that he was already planning on suing the city for what had happened, but also his own story. And this is the craziest thing to me, because yes, I think most people kind of acknowledge this guy is, he is Antifa, but he claimed that he saw Kyle and he thought Kyle was working with the police. So he chose to follow Kyle around with a gun drawn on him. So to me, that's where I think it's like, go back, listen to the testimony over again. It's been a little bit of time, but I remember hearing all of this and people are like, oh, his attempts to sue the city are done now. There is no way he's going to walk away with anything from the city. But, there are people that absolutely hate Kyle Rittenhouse, and that means that there are people that will pay a ton of money to Gage Grosskreutz to destroy Kyle's life, right? Keep suing him, keep suing him, keep suing him. I don't really think it will go anywhere because, again, you have his own sworn statements, his own statements of the events under oath in court. You already have that. He can't walk those back now. That would be perjury. So based on that, I really don't feel like he has a case, but let's see what the article has to say. Gage Grosskreutz, the man injured by Kyle Rittenhouse after he was shot during the Kenosha riots of 2020, has filed a lawsuit against Rittenhouse and local police and officials. According to Fox News, Grosskreutz is seeking economic losses, damages for emotional distress, humiliation. Okay, all right, hold on. The humiliation was done on his own, all right? The humiliation was done on his own. Loss of enjoyment of life and other pain and suffering on all claims and punitive damages. I think he wants to get a sympathetic jury. That way he can just get as much money as humanly possible. But I don't think this is really gonna work. You're suing this person who at the time was 17 years old, and you're suing him because you got shot by him, but you openly admitted in court that the only reason he fired his gun was because you pointed your gun at him. I don't know. See, Kyle's supposed to be the kid here, but, you have this Gage Grosskreutz guy, and he acts like a fucking child. Astonishingly, the Kenosha Police Department, Kenosha County Sheriff's Department, their supervising officials, and police officers and law enforcement officers from surrounding communities did not treat defendant Rittenhouse or any of the other armed individuals patrolling the streets as a threat to the safety of themselves or the citizens they were sworn to protect. The lawsuit filed on February 14th states. The officers were trying, I guess in their minds, not to rile things up by driving people off of the street. But everybody was completely armed, including Gage Grosskreutz. He came there and he was armed. And to my understanding, Gage Grosskreutz isn't from the area either. Okay, so for me, I'm like, you brought your own weapon, and he claims to be a medic and everything, that's his thing. He's a medical guy, but he tried to do this whole thing. I have this tattoo that says "Do no harm," and apparently the tattoo is actually "Do no harm" with no as KNOW, and it's crossed out, so the tattoo actually reads as "Do harm." So the guy is a scumbag. Okay, the guy is violent. The guy showed up there. He wanted to riot. He wanted to riot like everybody else. He played too hard. He got a little hurt. I don't know what else to say there, but it is what it is. I don't think you can blame the police. The thing is, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, Kyle Rittenhouse is a hero. I'll support Kyle Rittenhouse because you can clearly see that they will not leave this kid alone. And he did act in self-defense. I don't think he should have gone out that night. I don't think anybody should have been out that night. But goddamn it, if he didn't have the gun, he'd be dead. All right? The Rosenbaum guy was not there to support Black lives. He was not there to protest against the police. He had recently been released from prison because he had violently sodomized young boys. And now that he was out of prison, he wanted to go out into the streets and fuck around and get violent, and that's exactly what he did. If you leave Rittenhouse without the weapon, Rittenhouse would probably be dead. Instead, the law enforcement defendants deputized these armed individuals, conspired with them, and ratified their actions by letting them patrol the streets armed with deadly weapons to met out justice as they saw fit, said the lawsuit filed by... Okay, look, here's my issue with that too. Like, we know during the trial, the criminal prosecution of Kyle Rittenhouse, that the FBI was attempting to help them get this stuff set up so they could throw this kid into prison for life. Man, the police were not on Rittenhouse's side. Rittenhouse told Fox News that he was ready to prove my innocence again, though that action would come with a high price tag. I think the lawsuit came as a little bit of a shock. I guess it came as a shock to why he's filing the lawsuit, because he admitted that he pointed a gun in my face and then he chased me down, Rittenhouse added. Well, it's because Rittenhouse still has a platform. There are people that 100% think this kid is a murderer, a violent right-wing bigot, supremacist, whatever, and that, you know, him being free is a travesty, and they'll do anything to destroy him. If that means... Look at what happened when he tried to go to college. They demanded that they rescind his admission to the college because having him there would traumatize the students. They prevented him from going to college, and then later they threw it in his face that he wasn't going to college. I mean, these people like, they fucking hate life, and they hate this kid, and they want him to suffer. So I mean, like, he says the lawsuit came as a surprise. To me, I mean, yeah, it's a surprise that this idiot is going to sue on these grounds. Yeah, sure. But also, not really. They will do anything to fuck with Kyle. They will do anything to destroy his life. They don't care. I'm not kidding, okay? Look, what do you do with this kid when it's clear you don't want him to have an education? They don't. They actively prevented him from going to college. They don't want him to have a platform where he is able to actually speak to people. They seemingly don't want him to have a job either. And they want to sue him to the point where he will never be able to feed himself. Okay? What is the end result of this? Just be honest. You want the kid to put a bullet in his brain. There's no other way of looking at it for me. All right? You think that he belongs in a prison cell for life. And if you're not going to get that, then you're going to keep pushing until he offs himself. And then you'll think that you're morally justified and at the same time pretending, well, actually, we didn't actually want that to happen. Or maybe the malice is just so high. It's so vile that they can't even see just how awful they truly are. Who really knows? I don't think it really matters, though, at this point. The lawsuit also lists as defendants the city of Kenosha, Kenosha County, 5 other neighboring counties, police officers, former Kenosha County Sheriff Dave... Okay, this is interesting because he tried to go after the city already. And it didn't look like it was going well for him because of his statements during the trial. During the 2021 trial of Rittenhouse, who was charged with 2 counts of homicide and 1 count of attempted homicide for the fatal shootings of Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber, and the shooting of Grosskreutz, which resulted in an injury. Grosskreutz testified that he pointed a firearm at it resulted in an injury. That's mean. He lost, like, a good old chunk of his arm. That's funny though. Like, I mean, he lost like half of the mass of his arm. Kyle was an excellent shot with that one. And that's the thing too, because if Kyle had also put a bullet into Grosskreutz, like literally killed him like the others, that he would have literally no issues today. He wouldn't. The fact that he didn't, the fact that he shot to wound and disarm Grosskreutz has left him with a situation where now you have this violent little Antifa weirdo who was trying to kill him, now is just like out there. And there's really nothing that Kyle can do about it. He's going to have to deal with this guy for the rest of his life. The riots, which sparked on August 23rd, 2020, came in response to the police shooting of Jacob Blake and followed close on the heels of the protests and riots that popped up across the country following the death of George Floyd in May of that year. Rittenhouse said that he went to Kenosha with an AR-style rifle to protect businesses from damage, and the shootings were in self-defense, while Grosskreutz joined the protest. It was a riot. Grosskreutz said during the trial that he had his hands raised as he approached Rittenhouse and didn't attempt to shoot when he raised his gun. That's not the kind of person that I am. That's not why I was out there, he said when asked why he didn't shoot Rittenhouse first. It's not who I am, and definitely not somebody I would want to become. See, my problem, though, is Grosskreutz' other testimony was he was following the kid around with the gun because he thought he was working with the cops. So it sort of seems like that is who he is. The lawsuit from Grosskreutz argues that he approached with his hands in the air to try to ease the situation and stop the killing. Defendant Rittenhouse instead shot Mr. Grosskreutz in the bicep, leaving a gaping wound. Thankfully, Mr. Grosskreutz did not die that day, the lawsuit says. Well, but that's not true. That's just not true. He admitted in court. He testified in court to this that's not how it went. That's not how it went down. But he must live with the physical and emotional wounds. Yeah, he must, and he's a fucking liar too. On November 19, 2021, after 4 days of deliberations, a jury found Rittenhouse not guilty on all charges. Assistant District Attorney Thomas Binger argued that Rittenhouse had his life threatened by Rosenbaum, was beaten with a skateboard by Huber, and was finally threatened with a handgun by Gage Grosskreutz, and that Rittenhouse acted in self-defense. The lawsuit was filed 2 weeks after a federal judge in Wisconsin ruled that a wrongful death lawsuit filed by the father of Huber could proceed against Rittenhouse police officers and officials, according to the Associated Press. Well, there you go. Look, they're going to keep suing the kid. I don't know if the lawsuits are going to amount to anything, and I think that it's unfortunate for Kyle Rittenhouse because, again, he is never going to be able to have a normal life. And this is the fucked up thing about the people that go after this kid. They go like, oh, he's a grifter. He's doing this for fame. But it's like they prevent him from going to college. They also don't want him to have a platform to speak. And we just know how these people are. What, he's going to go get a job at Starbucks? You'll never let him have that job either. And also, they're going to keep suing him and suing him and suing him. And all of them support these actions. So I'm like, what is the net result? You want him to be uneducated, completely broke at the age of what is he right now? 19 years old? Just be honest. You want him to off himself. Okay? Because at a certain point, you just have to be honest. There really isn't a point. At that point, you're done. Your life is literally over. He didn't do anything legally wrong. He didn't murder people. He didn't go on a shooting spree. He was attacked by 3 people. He only shot the 3 people that attacked him in the middle of a riot where there were hundreds of people on the street that night. Obviously, the kid is not a maniac. Obviously, he is not a nut job. Obviously, he does have self-control. And it's pretty fucking clear based on the videos that, yes, he was being attacked. If you want to say, well, he didn't need to shoot people to stop him, well, stop, okay? The violent pedophile chased him down, literally saying that he was going to kill the kid. So immediately, come on, anyone would feel like their life was in jeopardy. The next one tried to bash his head in with a skateboard. Then they're going to say, well, it's a skateboard and Kyle's got a... Yeah, it's a blunt object that he's swinging at somebody's head, okay? Look, there's 3 possibilities there. 1, concussion, you get lucky, right? 2, permanent brain damage. 3, fucking dead. And then Gage Grosskreutz pulls a gun on him and admits that the only reason why Kyle shot him is because Gage put the gun back onto Kyle. So this whole lawsuit is just dumb, but these people just, they want this kid destroyed, and they will do anything to see his life just be completely destroyed.